You gotta go to FlixPop Radio. FlixPop Radio.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to FlixPop Radio, your source for the best movie talk here at WTBQ and WGHT every Saturday morning from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. I'm your host, Paul Bastante, and rest assured, there is literally nowhere else in the world that I would rather be right now than here with all of you in lovely Warwick, New York. Number to call today, 845-651-1110. If you can't call us, text us at 845-328-0886. You can also catch us across the country by visiting WTBQ, streaming us live from there. Today, in the studio, very special guest and longtime friend of WGHT and FlixPop Radio, Ryan, the Goose Gosiker. We'll also hear from the folks at the Greenwood Lake Marina, the reality wrap-up with Shelley Williams at the bottom of the hour, and of course, Santiago will drop the People's Podcast on all of us. That's all coming up. We'll also play Dinner and a Movie, where you'll get a chance to play the movie line trivia game to win dinner and a movie. Date night, courtesy of FlixPop Radio. That's right, FlixPop Radio will help you score this weekend, Goose. And FlixPop Radio is brought to you by Spaziani's Catering and Food Design, Cardinal Tours, Monica's Italian Restaurant, Tony T's Roadshow, the FlixPop Movie Club Podcast, Cardinal Frames, the Greenwood Lake Marina, Dream Builders by Design, and the Reset with Stephanie Shore Podcast. Listen, in the studio today, it's an honor. I got Goose here with me. How weird is it for you being here, and being on this side of the glass as opposed to that side of the glass?
Well, good morning, Paul. Good morning, WTBQ and WGHC listeners. It is different. It's different coming in here, being on this side of the glass. I don't think I've been on this side of the glass doing a live show here, excluding the morning show, since, I believe, April of 2020, when I was in here with Dan Baldwin, who preceded me running the board and stuff like that. So it's been almost 5 years since I've been doing a show in here, as opposed to the other side of the glass. That's
crazy. We're going to get to things here in a second. But before I do, I want to play a game. Is that cool with you?
Sure. Let's do it.
Every weekend we do it. Yes, no, either, or. That's the game. Brings us the opportunity to learn a little bit more each week about our guest. I'll go ahead and ask Goose a series of rapid-fire questions that'll require either a yes or no response or an either-or response. How about we do an example before we start?
Let's do it.
Disco fries, yes or no?
Yes.
Beefsteak fundraiser or Girl Scout cookies?
Beefsteak.
Cook or do the dishes?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I've actually been doing both.
Can't lie, because I'm thinking that your significant other's probably listening at home on this. So.
I would say cook. I'd rather cook and have her do the dishes.
And which, you have a special dish that you do?
Not typically yet, although my chicken cutlets are starting to get out of this world. So.
Banging chicken cutlets.
Oh, yeah. And I'm not a big fan of the big ones. I like to cut them in half and make the little ones. Start making some sliders I've made lately with the King's Hawaiian rolls, the pretzel buns. So we're starting to get there, starting to dabble my way in. I got to make buffalo chicken dip as my girlfriend's family is coming in tomorrow. So we want to do an appetizer for them. And so pressure's on today to make that good buffalo chicken dip.
Oh, boy. And listen, Spaziani's Catering, Tony Spaziani's out there. I know he's listening. And that guy makes some serious crack chicken cutlet. It's so tender and everything. And if you make it even half as good as that, I'm sure I'll be over for dinner. Okay, listen, yes, no, either or. It's brought to you by the Greenwood Lake Marina. Spring's coming up in a matter of weeks. It's time to start the process of getting that new boat or getting that time on the lake for the summer. Visit them today at greenwoodlakemarina.info. Today's category is
Sports movies.
So you ready to play, Goose?
Sure, let's do it.
All right, everybody, please place your trays in the upright position and prepare for impact. The Natural or Field of Dreams?
I like Field of Dreams.
Yeah, me too. Natural is great, though. Bull Durham or Major League?
Oh, I'm a Major League fan. Bull Durham was a little bit before my time. I've seen it, respect it, love it. But, man, Ricky Vaughn in Major League.
Oh, Ricky Vaughn.
You can't beat it.
Bring that on. Remember the Titans or The Longest Yard?
Remember the Titans, my favorite movie of all time.
Now, have you ever seen The Longest Yard?
I have. Which one?
I like
original.
I like them both. The original's great.
Yes.
But the one with Adam Sandler and in the beginning and the rampage that he's on is quite possibly one of the best opening scenes of a sport movie.
When he steals Courtney Cox's Bentley, locks her in a closet, takes the Bentley, and he's got the scene with the cops and he's drinking in the car. It is just out of control.
I never seen a guy go on a bender like that.
Yeah.
White Men Can't Jump or Hoop Dreams?
Ooh, that's a good one. White Man Can't Jump.
Okay.
Great movie.
Yeah, Hoop Dreams kind of changed everything for everybody, but White Man Can't Jump, great movie. Sandlot or The Bad News Bears?
Ooh, Bad News Bears is kind of in the same spot. Original versus new. I still like The Sandlot. Classic. Funny note, I saw The Sandlot at the Red Rocks Amphitheater in Colorado, the famous Red Rocks Amphitheater out there. They were having a showing. There were no shows while we were out there, no performers.
Right.
But they had The Sandlot on. And my brother and I hadn't seen the movie in a real long time, so we went out there, got our tickets, and checked that movie out. Love that movie.
All right, here's a really good one.
You're killing me, Smalls.
These are two pretty cult classic movies, and one would argue that the second one is not even a sports movie, but it is a sports movie. Vision Quest or Rudy?
Rudy. You know what's funny? The story behind Rudy is hilarious. Like, it's this guy who really just wanted his own story promoted. Like, he had to kind of like pay his way through to get this movie even out there. And then everybody loved it.
Reminds me of something, Ryan. You believe in what you're doing, you'll pay to do it just to get, on the board,
Absolutely.
Raging Bull or Rocky?
Rocky. Love Rocky.
Okay, Rounders or Searching for Bobby Fischer?
Ooh, I like Rounders. I'll take Rounders.
Yeah, me too. But Searching for Bobby Fischer's is an odd one in this genre. Is chess really a sport? I don't know. Dodgeball or Kingpin?
Dodgeball. Love Dodgeball. I did that. I can quote that movie, Paul, probably. If you set us up with the TV cameras and the directors, I could probably give you
Give me one.
Pretty accurate.
Give me some.
Jody Loves Chachi, right? Classic. I mean, Ben Stiller in that movie is terrific as White Goodman.
Tremendous. I think I know the answer to this one. Hoosier or Miracle?
That's a great question. Hoosiers is such a good movie, and obviously R.I.P. to Gene Hackman. But Miracle, I love Miracle and the speeches. And I love the scene where he challenges the player who's got the bruise on his leg, and the doctor says he can't play. And he says, a bruise on the leg is a long way from the heart. You candy.
Yeah. Don't say it. $10,000 fine here on the radio.
No, I don't have that kind of money.
I know you know. But, well, you work for MLB. I'm surprised.
Not yet, but that, I mean, just that line, it's all great.
Slapshot or Caddyshack?
I like Slapshot, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah,
so young guy like in the old movie like that?
Great
that
movie. Movie's tremendous.
Great movie.
Those guys are goons. It basically set up for what Mighty Ducks then became with the Bash Brothers in that movie.
Yeah.
They were a thought because of Slapshot.
No doubt about it. Let's see. All right. This is kind of a different one. Chariots of Fire or We Are Marshall?
We Are Marshall. I love
all the
that.
way, right?
By the way, that movie nearly makes me cry at the beginning every time. That is just such a sad story. And it was a true story. So it certainly hits home even worse. So.
Yeah, absolutely. But Chariots of Fire, one of those songs that really is just the theme, I can hear it in my head right now. A couple let's go through quick. Goon or Tin Cup? I
like Goon.
Yeah, I saw it last night. It was awesome. Okay, $1 Million Baby or Creed?
Creed. I like Creed. I thought Sylvester Stallone was excellent.
Yeah, absolutely. And last one, Secretariat or Seabiscuit?
Secretariat. I remember that movie. I saw that a long time ago, but I love that movie.
Yeah,
was a good one.
You dig the sports movies with the animals in them?
I do a little bit. Yeah, they're pretty good.
Yeah.
Racing Stripes is another one.
Do you remember one called Gus?
I do not.
It was about a horse who kicked field goals for.
Really?
I remember winning it on a radio station, tickets to go see it, and I saw it. I was a little kid. It's a really old movie. On the other side of the break, we're going to hear from Clint Green from the Greenwood Lake Marina in our Greenwood Lake Report. Springtime, folks. It's coming. More with the Goose. We'll play Dinner and a Movie line contest, all coming up after this. So don't go anywhere. And welcome back to FlixPop Radio. We're still here with the Goose Screaming. Ryan Gosiker has been nice enough to spend a few minutes with us today. Before I get back into our conversation with you, though, I have a question for you. Goose.
Yeah?
Do you like to be out on the water with like a boat, jet ski, whatnot, with your buds, or maybe with the girl and everything? What?
I do. Haven't done it in a long time, but I would love to.
All right,
especially coming up this spring. It's going to be a beautiful one.
Yeah, and I was driving up here, and the ice is off the lakes, and up at the Greenwood Lake Marina, they do so much stuff. Folks, before we get to this, greenwoodlakemarina.info, it's time for the Greenwood Lake Report with my friend, my pal, my partner in crime. It's Clint Green. Clint, how are you today, my friend?
Hey, Paul, I'm doing real well. How are you?
Awesome. How's things at the lake?
Oh,
my man.
It's, everybody's asking the question, has spring sprung? Goose, has spring sprung?
Not yet. Not according to the...
no, it's not
according to the
technically.
groundhog, right?
Well, the groundhog said 6 weeks back on February 2nd. We're almost about 6 weeks. But if you look outside today, it's like a damn snow globe going on out there.
I think we need to all graduate from the groundhog.
Yes. What do you got, dude? Tell us what's going on at the lake.
Well, we do still have some ice here on the lake, so that kind of is putting a lot of things in the holding pattern. Okay. So, but the next week it's going to be 50 to 60 degrees. It should make a really big dent in the ice because most of the ice has got to go away before we can put our docks in the water. And no boats get splashed until there's docks in the water. So... but we're staying busy, getting boats prepped, rigged, and ready for those who purchased over the off-season. And, guys, do you know which boats go in first?
I'm going to say, if I had to guess, I'm saying pontoons going first.
That's correct.
Wow, look at me.
And those who committed to boats and bought them. Those ones go in the water first.
Ah, there are privileges assigned to that. Got to get your boats, folks. Go up there and see Clint Green. He's the sales manager up there, right?
Absolutely.
And what? Tell us about like what kind of boats everybody's getting. I mean, they're getting the pontoons, but are we getting yachts and stuff like that too?
Well, nothing yet on this lake of yachts. You can take a yacht out. We can captain it and take you out on one of our yachts. But everybody knows what a speedboat is. So we have Stingray speedboats. We got Avalon pontoons. But I got a question for Goose and you, Paul.
Sure.
Do you know what a pontini is?
Is that okay? So is that like a martini that you have like while you're on the pontoon on the water?
Oh my goodness, that would be great, but not quite. I'm sure you can. There's many martinis that have enjoyed on all boats and also on these pontinis. But we all have members of our family or know someone who likes things in miniature form.
Yes.
Right? Whether it's a miniature horse or a miniature spoon or whatever the case may be. Well, a pontini is a miniature form pontoon.
Wow.
10, 12, or 14 foot. That's all they make them in.
Excellent.
And normally the pontoon boats out here on Greenwood Lake are at least 20 to 22 feet. So this miniature pontoon is perfect for the private lake communities that have restrictions on size, motor in our area like Pine Cliff, Highland Lakes, Erskine Lakes, and it's the only aluminum pontoon boat that works for smoke rise over in Kinnelon, New Jersey. So not to mention, open up the map and look at all the little waterways we have around us, all those reservoirs, perfect little boat to enjoy those reservoirs.
Listen, people out there in the listening audience, you're up here. We're in Warwick, New Jersey, WTBQ. Warwick, New York, WTBQ, and WGHT as well. This is a way of life up here. And if you want to get involved, call up or go to the Greenwood Lake Marina.info or visit them in person. Talk to my guy Clint here, and he will hook you up. Clint, we'll see you next week. All right, buddy?
All right, that sounds great. Everyone here at Greenwood Lake Marina is waiting to share their passion for the lake lifestyle with all who come to enjoy the lake with us. Have a great rest of the week.
You too, Clint. Thanks. See you, bud.
You're very welcome. Bye.
So, Goose, thanks so much for being on the show today. Every guest who appears on FlixPop Radio receives dinner for two at Monica's Italian Restaurant, 1 Lakeside Avenue, Pompton Lakes, New Jersey. It's an awesome place. Have you ever been there?
I have. Monica's food is excellent.
It's in your hometown, so I'm sure that you've been there before. The food there is banging. I'm sure the chicken cutlets are nothing like yours.
I don't know about that.
No,
Attila
Attila makes an unbelievable chicken parm, anything chicken cutlet there, you got to go there. But
a little chicken franchise, that's my go-to.
Little franchise, no doubt. monicasrestaurant.net. Please visit them today. So, all right, Goose, let's talk now. I told you before we were on the air, and I told you when we did the horseback riding earlier this week, is that I had a prediction for you for today's show.
Sure.
Okay. And as I've been watching all of the memes and all of the things having to do in spring training and all the video coming out of spring training, your team, the Metropolitans, was successful in the biggest free agent signing really of the offseason and maybe in the history of Major League Baseball, would you say?
Certainly. It's certainly the biggest contract.
Oh, my gosh. Juan Soto, right? But he does this thing, right, every time when he seems to like be onto you as the pitcher. And he does that thing where he rocks back and forth, right?
The Soto Shuffle.
The Soto Shuffle. So here's my prediction, because now he's a Met, okay? And first of all, I loved having the guy on my team. He's a great baseball player. He is going to lead the league next year. Not in home runs, not in average, not in RBIs, but guy getting hit by pitches, okay?
I got to tell you, I can't believe it hasn't happened already.
No, it's happening now, though, because he's with the Mets, and you know what happens, right? All your guys. It's like open season. The Mets come to town. You throw baseballs at their heads, right?
It is crazy. And Paul, funny, we're talking about sports movies as a whole. Major League 2, if those listening remember that movie, there's Jack Parkman, who plays for Chicago, the guy across town, and Bob Uecker is because he does the little shimmy.
Rest in peace, God, you.
Yes,
yes, rest in peace, Bob Uecker.
And he does the Parkman shake, and Bob Uecker says, it makes all the women here throw up. Watching Juan Soto, I feel the same way. Like, I can't stand the shuffle, and when he was an opponent, I couldn't believe that the Mets didn't throw it.
It's cringeworthy.
It is. And then seemingly that's how, you just know he has you in his back pocket. And then he hits a home run off you, or he hits a double. It's crazy.
If I was a major league pitcher, and I'm pretty good, Ryan, if you took me outside right now, I'd throw you like 85, maybe 86 cheese,
at
right?
Least.
Up and in.
Without a warm-up.
I might need Tommy John after that, maybe on both arms. But, I got to say, if I was a pitcher, and seeing what this guy has done to terrorize other pitchers in the league, and he gets the Soto Shuffle going, wherever you throw that next pitch is probably going to get lost. Why wouldn't you just throw it at his head?
It's kind of crazy. It's like basketball moves, right? Everybody has their one unstoppable move that they do.
Oh yeah, Kareem with the
sky hook, right?
Yeah.
Kobe with the fadeaway jumper.
Ohtani,
right? It's like a rite of passage, and so what's coming. You're just trying. You're really trying to stop Thanos, is really what you do, right? Thanos, his whole thing is, I'm inevitable. Well, when the Soto Shuffle comes out, I bet, and we would have to do some advanced analytical work on this, but when he does the Soto Shuffle, I'm pretty sure his batting average is probably like 800. At least.
Well, you know that. It's coming, right?
So you're like, as soon as it happens, you're like locked in this simulation now. And if you don't throw at him, he's probably going to hit the ball hard. And he's probably going to get a base hit or a home run. And I've seen it. I seen it in the Cleveland at bat last year, and he fouls off every single pitch. I mean, just put one behind his ear and let him take first base, and then at least you're not you're not getting blown open in the game by this guy. He's a terror. What else about the Mets this year? There's a lot of excitement, but there's been excitement in previous years. Tell me why, if I'm a Met fan, I believe this year that this is their year. Certainly, if after watching last year, if you can't believe, it's almost like if you're not excited, you don't have a heartbeat. But this team, now adding Juan Soto, they've really brought the gang back, the main components of it. And you just look at their top 4 or 5 in their lineup. You go Lindor, Soto, Alonso, and Vientos. And if that don't get you excited as a Met fan, I don't know how to help you, because those guys, what Mark Vientos did last year, just in the postseason alone, was worth an entire season. Alonso now has his contract. He's a little bit happier. He's the highest paid first baseman in the league and of all time. But these guys and Lindor in that leadoff spot, when they made that move in May, it was the greatest move Carlos Mendoza could have ever made for this team. I think you look at the top 4 of that team, and then you get after that, you're talking about guys like Brandon Nimmo, Francisco Alvarez, who, by the way, was a 0 at the plate last year. You have to imagine you can't get really worse than 0.
Can't hit worse than 0.
Right. So you expect him to kind of go up from there. And then you have, some veterans at your DH spot, Starling Marte, Jesse Winker, stuff like that. And you got some other veterans to round out this roster, while also Luis Angel Acuna Jr., who is the brother to Ronald Acuna Jr. down there in Atlanta. We know he's an MVP. Has been an MVP in the past. So you're talking about the same bloodline. So he's on this roster. The pitching, I think, is going to be fine. You saw it last year. It is so weird, Paul. You get these deja vu moments in life. And it's happening this year. Everybody, everywhere. Wow, the Mets can't pitch. They're going to have to score 9 runs a game. We had the same exact conversation last year. And when we stood on September 1st, the Mets had a top 5 rotation in baseball based on ERA and other pitching metrics. So let's see how it plays out. They also have injuries to their rotation and guys that they're going to have to get back as the season goes on. But, I mean, pitching is always a crapshoot. It's always tough to figure out and manage. You go from there, and how one year this guy's pitches to a 2 ERA, and the next year he's at a 4 or 5.
And how bullpens change from year to year, right?
Bullpens are extremely volatile.
Volatile situation.
It's crazy. So I would be excited if I'm a Met fan.
And final piece, really, to me, of the puzzle is your manager.
I think it's all of management.
Well, listen, it is all it is all management. But if watching the Mets from afar, like my lifetime, and I'm not a Met fan, I'm a Yankee fan. I've been through the Valentine years. I've been through the Showalter years, right? Like it always seems to be a disaster.
But Willie Randolph years.
This guy, though, he's a little different. What about that?
He's got a little moxie, and it's really started at ownership. I mean, we could go back 4 years ago now when Steve Cohen bought the team. And, I love my girlfriend and everything, but that was potentially the greatest day of my life because Steve Cohen has been nothing but a blessing to this organization. And the Wilpons, they still own SNY, which is unfortunate, but Steve Cohen is running this organization. And then he set his eyes on David Stearns, who's been excellent. And Stearns put his eyes on Carlos Mendoza, who nobody was talking about in the managerial search last year. He was a Yankees coach, and nobody really knew anything about him. And then he comes to New York. He comes to the Mets, I should say, as the manager. And, man, the moxie, the cool under pressure. He's been everything the Mets have ever wanted. And you're right. I mean, the Willie Randolph years, the Mickey Callaway years, you're talking about some crazy, the Terry Collins years, obviously, although I think Terry Collins gets a little more hate than people should give him. But nonetheless, you go through all these different managers and stuff like that, and it's crazy. But it seems like they have found theirs in Carlos Mendoza. And we'll see if he can push the right buttons again this year.
Listen, even though I'm a Yankee fan, I'm not a Met hater. Everything is much better when both teams are really great. And when we have the possibility of looking at both teams, and like a couple of years back, even last year, I thought there might be a Subway Series between the two teams, and that would be just crazy. You're 26, right, or 27 years
26.
Old. So when they last Subway Series, you were just a wee tyke. 2. All right, so you didn't get to experience that. Let me tell you right now, and the listeners, you guys know as well, the older ones that are old like myself, I'm double nickels here, so I'm on my sunset here, Goose. But we know. We've seen this all before, but what everybody has not seen is a Subway Series. So let's hope for that. How's MLB going so far?
Everything's great. The job is super cool. Yeah. The nickname Goose has gone around the warehouse, the office. Right. As a manager came up to us, and there's 2 Ryans newly trained in my department, and he goes, "Guys, this just ain't gonna work. Does anybody go by a last name, nickname, all this?" I said, you can call me Goose. Now it's all throughout the warehouse. People making goose sounds and gestures. And
as long as they're not making the same droppings all over the place.
No, not at all. Not at all.
We can listen to them and whatever, but that's okay. So, all right, listen. On the other side of the hour, we're going to still talk with Goose. He's going to stay. You'll stay with us, right?
Absolutely.
I know this goes quick. We're already at the half almost. When we come back, we're going to have a visit from Shelley Williams in the Reality Rewind. She'll also give us what she thinks about Survivor. And for this week, and everyone dreams of being a big sports guy working for MLB. We'll talk about that with Goose when we get back. Don't go anywhere. And welcome back to FlixPop Radio. We're still here with Ryan, Goose Gosiker. Let's face it, my friend, we're working overtime here today, but it's all in the name of great radio, right?
It is great. Always, I enjoy waking up an hour later on Saturday mornings now to get in for today.
And you know what? Not to pee on your parade or anything like that, but you're losing that tomorrow.
Yeah, I know. It's unfortunate. But you know what, Paul? I'm a huge golfer. So the daylight savings time works well for me because now the sun stays out till 8 o'clock. Right. I can play golf until 8 o'clock and be mad at a little white ball.
No doubt about it. And your wife can be mad at you. To me, hands down, the best vacation is a European river tour vacation. But every time I try to book one, my efforts sink like Charlie in Major League. So instead now I call Cardinal Tours in Pompton Lakes. They specialize in European river tours, and they'll plan all of the details for you. They'll also help you with your exclusive resort or group vacation excursion. Speak to my friend Betty Houston there. You can rely on her experience, and she is wonderful. Let me tell you, call her today, 973-835-0177, to get your river tour or get your group, your group excursion going. All right, so Goose, while we're waiting for Shelley to call in here. Actually, we have her on the phone. Shelley, how are you today?
I'm outstanding, Paul. How are you today?
I'm doing just peachy. The reality wrap-up is delivered every week at the bottom of the hour by actress and reality TV junkie. That's you, Shelley. Shelley Williams.
It's me.
And I can't wait for you to fill us in on everything reality. Shelley, go ahead. Take it away.
So we had a really busy week in the reality world. Goose,
Yes.
what reality show do you watch?
I have to tell you, Shelley, I've been waiting for this because I knew this segment comes up. I'm excited for tomorrow's release of new episodes of Love is Blind.
You are the second person who have said that to me, and I've never watched that.
My girlfriend and I have watched it. She got me into some of this reality stuff. So now I tag along and jump in. I can critique everybody else's relationship in that show.
Oh, yeah. And then you can go home and go to sleep and not even worry about it
exactly.
anymore.
If you want to swing over more into a male-dominated reality world that is not Love is Blind, we have The Amazing Race that premiered this week, one of my all-time favorites. I have watched every episode since the beginning, and the progression of what they're doing this year is quite exciting. There's some new features. We also have The Voice continuing. We have the wrap-up of The Traitors that happened this week on Thursday. I bet everybody's excited that they don't have to hear me say The Traitors anymore.
I like your accent, by the way.
Thank you. It's my Alan Cumming impersonation. It did wrap up on Thursday night. If you didn't catch that, I won't give anything away, but it was a different ending than the previous few seasons. Just saying.
Yes.
Just whet your appetite. Of course, Survivor. Duh, my fave.
Are you still alive
Are
you alive in your Survivor pool?
I am.
Okay, good. Just want to make sure.
I am. It's only the second week. I better be.
Oh, listen, who knows? You know what I'm saying?
I think at that. Yeah. I have to be a little bit better than 2 weeks, but I've been knocked out early before, just not 2 weeks early. And then, of course, with the Oscars being over last week, that means one thing, the premiere of American Idol on Sunday.
I heard Goose is going to be on that representing Major League Baseball. Is that true, Goose? You're going to be on there singing?
Yeah, Don't Stop Believing. That's going to be my song this weekend.
Goose, what's your MLB team? I need to know that, too.
I'm a Mets fan. Huge Met fan.
You are a Met fan. How wonderful. I'm a Met fan when they're not playing the Yankees.
Shelley, do you agree with me? I made the prediction that Juan Soto will lead the league this year in hit by pitches because of that thing that he does, that Soto
did you see
shuffle
the huge
thing.
error he made this week?
What did he do?
He flubbed a basic can of corn.
Oh, he's going to do that.
Oh, yeah.
But, when he's hitting, monster shots and, giving you the look and rounding the bases, scoring runs, and just being the all-around great player he is, you kind of forget about those things.
I scrutinized him a little bit 1 year post-Yankeedom.
I know, right? He's the worst.
He's the worst.
He's the worst. He's the worst.
Terrible.
But I do wish him good health, and I hope that for Goose's sake that he's great.
I'm just waiting for the first home run I see with my $40 hamburger and my $20 Pepsi.
$45, by the way.
Yeah,
not $40.
at the stadium. Listen, if he's hitting baseballs into LaGuardia Airport, then we're all good.
Taking flight, my friend.
Welcome to our world, Goose.
Yeah.
What else you got for us, Shelley?
That's pretty much it for the wrap-up.
Awesome.
I didn't get caught up on very much this week because, the flu has hit our house. So everybody wash your hands.
Jesus.
Stay healthy.
Yes, terrible. Wash your hands every chance you get.
And this reality rewind was brought to us by the fabulous Greenwood Lake Marina. Get out on the lake this spring.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Shelley. We'll see you next week, kid.
Thank you. Have a great week, guys.
You got it. I always love to hear from Shelley because she's so much into the reality TV and everything. I like to check in on that. So, all right, Goose, a little bit more now about the movies. Now, you're a sports nut. I know this, and that carries over into the movies. What is your favorite sports movie?
It's Remember the Titans. It's actually my favorite movie of all time.
Really?
I love that film. I've probably seen it, close to 200 times.
200 times? Is that an exaggeration, or
no,
really
I don't think
seen
so. I watched that movie, religiously like that. I love that movie. I think Denzel is so good in that movie, and then just the camaraderie and the teamship is just something for me, football wise, that I've always been a part of. So to see them come together like that was was awesome.
How long is that movie? About 2 hours?
About 2 hours, I think. It's just short of 2 hours.
So if you watch it 200 times, that means that you've spent 400 hours watching, Remember the Titans. And if I go into that even more, that's about 10 weeks of gainful employment. Yep. If you make $500, you make much more than this, but if you make $500, a week times 10, you wasted about $5,000 watching Remember the Titans. Is the movie that good?
To me, it is. And I love that movie. It's such a good story. It's got everything in it. And it's one of those stories, too, that, in general, when you talk about war movies, you talk about, racial movies, dealing with the civil rights movement and all that kind of stuff. You just know that, like, while it looked brutal in the movie, it's actually even worse in real life. And Disney's not able to fully show you what life was like back in Virginia, back in the 1960s. So, you kind of have an appreciation for it. And I just, like I said, I love that movie. I love quoting that movie. Gary Bertier, the whole crew, Julius Campbell.
Ooh, yeah.
Strong side left side, excuse me. The tight end who misses his block intentionally because he doesn't like that he has a black quarterback.
Yes.
And then he gets cut by Bertier, the only cut that Herman Boone's ever made in his coaching career. Just so much stuff that goes into it. And Hayden Panettiere as the coach's daughter. And, I know her, from when she grew up and was in movies. And then it's like you find out that she's the 9-year-old in the movie. And you're like,
no,
crap.
That's
like,
insane,
no way.
Right?
Yeah. So it's a great all-around movie. So for me, it's my favorite.
So with the genres, the sports genre, one of the themes and I don't want to say a trope because a trope is something different, but like what they have in common to me is this unbelievable feeling that you get after watching it, and that feeling that anything is possible, and look, sometimes with these movies we're like suspending reality to kind of wrap our mind around it, right? And there's dramatic license there, but the great ones, like Remember the Titans, like Miracle, right? They leave you want to go run through a brick wall, no?
100%. Miracle I watch anytime I got something big coming up and I need like a quick 5-minute pump up. Just turn on that speech before they play the Soviet Union. I mean, that's you'll absolutely run through a brick wall just listening to that. And
the thing that many people don't know about the Miracle on Ice is that when we hear Al Michaels do the call, do you believe in miracles? I mean, that just sends the goosebumps flying on your arms. But it wasn't the gold medal game.
Right.
It was only the semifinals.
It was the semis. They had to somehow wake up and try to win a gold medal match, I believe, 2 days later. It's just... The storylines are everything. And each one, to me, Paul, serves a different purpose, right? Like Rocky IV was Cold War propaganda.
Yes.
Like completely. You're not going to have an American boxer go to Russia on Christmas and win over a Russian crowd. Like, come on, man. But it's just the excitement, the entertainment, the philosophical. I mean, Paul, if you walk around Philadelphia, I mean, maybe in the outskirts of Philadelphia, I bet you half the people believe Rocky was real. Like
there's a statue right there. I took a picture with it. Everybody takes the same picture where they're, fake punching their significant other in front of the statue.
Yeah, he's a fictional boxer.
Yes.
Like it's crazy, and the impact sports movies can have on us. And they, like I said, they tell amazing stories. And they're fun. They're goofy. They're again, if you're honestly expecting a full recount of some of these events, exactly how they happen, I got some swampland in Florida I could sell you too.
Yeah, and I'm the first one in line. Yeah. And the thing is funny with Rocky. So first of all, you and I, it's so short, like 1 hour to do a radio show, and we never get to really break down the genre like in depth as much as that I would like to. So you're going to be on the podcast, the FlixPop Movie Club podcast, which is going to drop in 2 Thursdays from now. That's your show, and we're going to expand on the sports genre. And in that, we're going to also share like our top 5 in the genre. Yours, I already know what your top one is. It's remember the Titans. For me, it's Rocky, and I tend to err towards those movies that are like the genre busters where you can't help but think of that movie. Matter of fact,
Right.
I think that you could name it the Rocky genre, right?
Well, because there's 6 of them, right? And then
Yes.
Rocky is heavily involved in the Creed movies as well, as
Yes.
we know.
Yeah.
So do you have a favorite Rocky movie, like out of the...
I like the original one because I just the graininess of it, just the low budget of it. You know, like I'm a filmmaker. You know, in my other life, you know, I'm not just a radio star. You know, like this is only 1 hour of my week every week, but I make movies, and when I'm making the movies, and I'm watching the movies, I can't watch a movie. It's kind of like Frank when he listens to a radio show, right? He can't listen to a radio show without looking at it in a technical way. And I'm the same thing with movies. And if you look at that first Rocky movie, they made it with like, the budget was like 10 cents.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. I love the second one.
Yeah.
Right at the end, yo, Adrian, I did it.
Yeah,
you know, like
you're
that's
right.
obviously an iconic
Awesome.
moment.
Yes.
Rocky 4, obviously, you know, with Creed dying, and then, you know, he's got to go avenge this. And like I said, the fact that he wins over a Russian crowd is it's just absolutely bonkers. But the driving scene where she tells him, no, like you can't win, the famous line, and
Yes.
then he gets in his car and the whole monologue and everything.
Yes.
It's amazing. So those movies, and then Tommy Gunn in the 5th one, you know, the guy basically replaces Rocky's son in his life, and then he turns on him. And
So be
it's just
her,
crazy.
and tell me I can't win. Tell me.
Paul, you can't win.
I could do this, Adrian. I could do it.
You know
That's
what's
my
an
best.
underrated boxing movie that I was just watching last weekend? Southpaw.
Oh yeah, Southpaw.
Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah. Actually, pretty darn
movie.
good movie. Yeah.
I
That's a
liked it.
sleeper right there.
Yeah.
I don't think it's gonna make it in my top 5 when we talk
No.
about it on,
But it's
on
a good
Thursday.
movie.
But yeah, it's a great movie. All right, so we're gonna do the FlixPop dinner and a movie contest. Your chance to win dinner and a movie. All you have to do is identify the comedy movie that the line we give you is from. We'll give you a line from a comedy movie. If you call us with the correct answer first, you'll win dinner for 2 at Spaziani's Catering and Food Design, 1572 Route 23 in Butler, New Jersey. These tickets are for their Friday night feast. And folks, it's really the only way to get into the Friday night feast. That sucker is sold out every single week. You got to go. You'll also receive 2 movie gift cards for your enjoyment following the Friday night feast at the AMC Theaters in Wayne. And that is brought to you by Denise Fuchs of Dream Builders by Design. So here's the quote from that famous sports movie masterpiece, all right? You ready for this?
Sure.
Okay, here's the quote. Show me the money. Show me the money. If you know it, call up 845-651-1110. Again, 845-651-1110. Call now. On the other side, we'll get to the winner of Dinner and a Movie. We'll hear from Santiago with the People's Podcast Review. We'll drop that on our heads. I'll still have more questions for Goose and your calls. We're the final caller, Goose. Let's do it. Be back soon. All right, everybody, we're back on FlixPop Radio at WGHT. The quote one more time, show me the money. Show me the money. What movie is that from? And Denise Fuchs from Dream Builders by Design, she's a coach. She'll take your life to the next level, really, with many, many things. You have to reach out to her, dreambuildersbydesign.com. So, all right, looks like we have a caller on the line. Who am I speaking with, caller?
This is Penny from Pompton Lake.
Penny from Pompton Lake. Goose, we're really big in Pompton Lake. You know that, right?
That's what I've heard.
So on the way here, there was no traffic, and then I start to realize like why, and that's because FlixPop Radio was on today. Everybody in Pompton Lakes, the whole thing stops, and they listen. So okay, Penny, here's the quote again, one more time. Show me the money. What movie is that from?
Jerry Maguire.
Oh yeah, Jerry Maguire. That's right. I gave you guys an easy one today, but you know what? The tickets for Friday Night Feast, they're still good, whether it's easy or not. Great job, Penny. I appreciate your call, and we'll get these tickets out to you right away. All right?
Awesome. Thank you.
What radio show gives you the best chance to score on a Friday night?
FlixPop. Radio.
Thanks a lot. See you soon.
Thank you.
All right, so Show Me the Money, that's from Jerry Maguire. We didn't even talk about that movie, but when slick sports agent Jerry Maguire, Tom Cruise, obviously has a crisis of conscience, he pens a heartfelt company-wide memo that promptly gets him fired. Desperate to hang on to the athletes that he represented, Jerry starts his own management firm. One single mother, Dorothy Boyd, Renee Zellweger, joining him in his new venture. And, of course, that's football player Rod Tidwell, Cuba Gooding Jr., who won a Best Supporting, Academy Award for this film. Do you like Jerry Maguire?
I love that movie. It is tremendous. And that phone call in and of itself should win an award. I mean, it is just tremendous because Rod Tidwell is the only client he's got left, and he's trying to hold on to him. Oh, and it's just hilarious. Not show you, show me the money, Jerry. And that phone call is iconic. It's,
help me, help you. Help me, help you.
It's tremendous. And then at the end, obviously, and then he nearly dies on the field, and then he gets revived, and he's running around like going crazy. It's just an insane movie, but Jerry Maguire, great movie, and the little kid Ray.
Oh yeah,
it was just awesome in that.
Absolutely.
movie.
Now, if we saw him, because the movie's about 30-something years old now, which is really insane. Like with these movies, when you look up one day and you're like, holy mackerel! All right, got the People's Podcast Review on FlixPop Radio is reported each week by Santiago. He's a podcaster, engineer, and podcast producer at ANJ Studios in Pompton Plains, New Jersey. And more than anything, Goose, this guy makes my voice sound like red velvet. Santiago, how are you today, my friend?
Good morning, Paul. Good morning, Goose. I'm feeling great. How are you guys holding up this morning?
We're doing great. How are you?
Working our way up to middle management here today at the station here in Warwick.
I hear all around the warehouse, goose, goose, goose. That's all good news.
Yes, sir. What you got for us today, man? What's in the podcast world?
Well, the People's Podcast is brought to you by Cardinal Tours, located in Pompton Lakes. And this week, I took kind of a straightforward one with the Pardon My Take podcast.
Oh, good
which
one.
Is hosted, which is hosted by Big Cat and PFT. You guys know, or for first-time listeners, this podcast is a mix of different guests and current topics. And I think the biggest thing about this podcast is that they release episodes at least 3 times a week.
Wow.
And that's a lot of work for a podcast. But they are, each and every week. And it's sports. And who doesn't love sports? All different types. America's favorite pastime. We're getting ready for baseball coming up next. I mean, these guys do take it all on. I will say, though, I got to give all the listeners a little bit of a heads up. Obviously, we get a little bit excited, and there is some explicit language in there.
Oh, my gosh.
But other than that, it's an amazing sports podcast with laughs and a good time overall.
So I wonder if those people who are on the podcast and they're with the questionable language, I wonder if they have radio shows. And if they have radio shows, like, are they able to hold their tongue in one, maybe forget where they are in the other, and then get on the wrong side of the FCC? I mean, I don't know. What do you think, Santiago?
I think really, I think that was one of the beauty about having a podcast is that you can let loose a little bit. I understand radio regulations because you don't know who's going to be, you think about radio, one of the biggest moments is when you're driving in a car and you're going back and forth and something's on. And the last thing you want is somebody dropping an F-bomb while your 5-year-old is in the back seat or something. It's decorum.
It's kind of, when that happens, it's like somebody said pass the jelly, right? Instead of pass the whatever. It's like the forks start falling, right?
Or the worst case scenario, somebody licks the knife and puts it back in the jar. Yeah. It's one of those moments.
Yes. Or, dips in the pasta with their fork in the family style restaurant. But all right, what's the name of the podcast again?
Okay, that's Pardon My Take.
Pardon My Take.
That's the name of the podcast.
All right, everybody, get your stuff together. Get to Pardon My Take. Santiago, I appreciate you very much. Thanks so much for calling in each and every week. A&J Studios, guys, got to get with this guy for your podcast. Thanks. We'll see you next week. All right, buddy?
Take it easy. Have a great morning, guys.
You
Bye.
too. So, so we're going to do that. We're going to have the podcast. We're going to talk. And if we happen to drop an F-bomb by accident, I guess it's okay. But we'll expand a little bit more. And 2 of the movies that we've talked about today are in my top 5. That's Jerry Maguire and Rocky. You're going to have to tune in, not this Thursday coming up, but the following Thursday on the FlixPop Movie Club podcast in order to hear what Goose's top 5 is going to be. We're also going to talk about what makes up a great sports movie, like some of the aspects of it. And we're also going to play Yes, No, Either War, but a more extended version. So I know you got to be looking forward to that, right?
I am, Paul, and I was just doing some research while Santiago was talking about the podcast. By the way, I've listened to that podcast before.
Yeah,
it's hilarious. But I mean, if you just Google sports movie, I mean, like Invincible with Vince Papale when he makes the Eagles, right?
Yes,
we talked about Major League, The Blind Side.
Blind Side,
Coach Carter. Great movie.
Yeah.
We talked about Dodgeball, Friday Night Lights.
It's an explosive genre.
I think Friday Night Lights might have been the first movie I ever cried.
Really?
When I was a kid, like growing up and like seeing how they, how a high school team, could get to the state championship. It's all I ever dreamed about as a kid was one day getting to the high school team and winning a state championship, and to see them come that close. If you know the movie, they came up a yard short, was just, for me as a kid, it was a tearjerker.
Yes.
It really was. Moneyball with
gosh.
Brad Pitt, Jonah Hill. Great movie.
Yeah.
A League of Their Own.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's just so much.
A lot of people put that in their top 5, A League of Their Own.
Great movie.
That's weird, but it's kind of there's so many good and great sports movies that when you say League of Your Own, I'm just really surprised by that.
Maybe they're in a league of their own.
Maybe they are.
Within the genre.
I think the movie is in a league of its own, and Tom Cruise is really an unbelievable, I mean, obviously, I'm not Tom Cruise, Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks as the manager. And
there's no crying in baseball.
He plays a great drunk manager. Like Walter Matthau is probably like, spinning around in his grave, right? Like about watching this guy. But what people don't know about Goose as well is not only is he a great voice, not only is he MLB, but he's also a football coach. You work with the kids in Pompton Lakes. He's also very involved in the community in Pompton Lakes. I'm wearing my bracelet. Haven't taken it off since September 5th. I still got it on. Proud to be stigma free. And this is the Pompton Lakes drug coalition that helps all the kids in there, and then also working with the kids with the Pompton Lakes high school and those football players. This past week, a special thing for my family is that my son Jackson was offered a full scholarships to Stony Brook University to play football. And that to me is just unbelievable that, because college costs so much money and he's going to go for free if he chooses to. What's it like for you and like one of your players has some success like this?
It's unexplainable, really, because there's just so much pride in you taking each kid that you're working with. And, you get kids, and I'll tell the story as quickly as I can. We had a kid last year who I really started volunteering coaching about 3 years ago. So it was really like at the end of his freshman year into his sophomore year. And he really came to me. He was like, Coach, I want to be successful. And, we know you've been successful in the program. He did, Paul, the next 3 years, he did everything I ever asked him to do. And in camp his senior year, to start his senior year, he just got named captain the day before, tore his ACL.
Oh.
And you're like, how do you have this? I literally called people and I was like, what do I say? What do I say? Like, when kids do everything you ask them to do and they work to their fullest extent, it's the pride you take in as a coach. It's not just the wins and the state titles, all that kind of stuff. It's that little stuff. And certainly college success and getting those offers. I mean, it's a reflection on the student athlete, and that's what we as coaches love to see, is our student athletes getting recognized for the people that we already know that they are. They're just now getting recognized by the public and by other people.
Yes, and I've been a coach too, and certainly not at the high school level, but these kids, as you go on in life, sometimes they cross the street if they see you to come and say hi, and to let you know that you had some kind of an impact on their life. And as we're talking about sports, I mean, that's you. But we're all sports fans. We're all sports movies fans. So let's get back just real quick. On the movie thing, can you give me one more in your top 5?
One more in
your top 5. Yes, for sports movies.
I really don't think I'm prepared to. You'll have to stay tuned for the podcast. But I'll definitely drop it there. But I mean, like I said, there's so many movies. We didn't even talk like Rookie of the Year, where the kid breaks his arm and all of a sudden he can pitch for the Cubs. Little Big League, where the kid's grandfather owns the Twins and he dies, and now the kid takes over as the manager. Gridiron Gang with The Rock, where he takes the prisoners and turns them into a successful football team.
Oh, heck yeah.
There is just so many movies across the spectrum in the sports world. I just can't, I could talk about it all day. I could talk about it ad nauseum. So I'm excited. But yeah, for the full top 5 outside of my top 1, you'll have to tune into the podcast.
All right. I love that teaser. That's why I have guests like this. This guy knows what the hell he is doing. All right. So we got about a minute left. Tell me anything the listeners need to know about the Goose, what's going on with you, anything you want to kind of promote?
Yeah, no, it's I appreciate you having me on, Paul. It's always a pleasure coming up here to the station. You never forget the route. So that I always remember, and it's a pleasure coming up here and, just get out there. I do want to say, you mentioned the Drug and Alcohol Prevention Coalition before that I run in Pompton Lakes. If anybody's interested in the Pompton Lakes community, reach out to me, find me on Facebook. You can find our page on Facebook as well. But the big one, Paul, is Sunday, May 18th, we have what's called the Walk for Hope, which is geared towards the stigma surrounding mental health and substance abuse. We're looking for 400 people to come out this year. We had 200 last year. I'm looking to double our production. So again, reach out to me, find me on social media at Goose on the Mic on Twitter and Ryan Gosiker on Facebook. So reach out.
Awesome. Thanks. It's my pleasure, obviously, having you on the show today, Ryan. FlixPop Radio is brought to you by Spaziani's Catering, Food Design, Cardinal Tours, Monica's Italian Restaurant, the Silk City Podcast, Cardinal Frames, the Reset with Stephanie Shore Podcast, Dream Builders by Design, and the FlixPop Movie Club Podcast. I want to thank Clint Green, Shelly, Santiago, Frank, Behind the Glass, and of course you, the callers. Couldn't do it without you. Next week on FlixPop Radio, we'll have horse owner, Breeders' Cup trainer, Coach Mark Mickens on the air about what the comedy movie genre is all about. See you next week on FlixPop Radio.